Welcome to Dare to be Conscious. I'm your host, Rui Pichel. This podcast is an invitation to pause, to question, and to see beyond the noise. Together, we explore consciousness, healing, leadership, spirituality, and what it truly means to live in alignment. In a world full of distraction, dare to become more conscious. Dare to ask deeper questions. Dare to see the world and yourself as you truly are. Let's begin. Here we are, Dare to be Conscious podcast. Tyler Davis is a guest on my podcast again. Tyler, welcome.
Thank you, Ruby. Thanks for having me on again.
Yes, it's good to have you here. I really loved our conversation the other day, and I'm really excited that you are on the podcast again.
Likewise, I'm also excited. We seem to have some pretty great conversations, so that's awesome.
Well, we do, and I absolutely value your wisdom, your knowledge, your point of view on when we talk about Jesus, when we talk about God, the Holy Spirit. I really
Mm.
like to have those conversations in general. And I have to say that a thing that I've noticed for a while now, but I think it kind of annoyed me for the past week, was that what I see with a lot of people is that people are more interested in distraction than they
Mm.
are in consciousness.
Absolutely.
Why do I see so many people that are distracted?
That's a great question. And to be honest, I've been pondering that for a long time myself. That's one of the biggest obstacles for me in connecting with people is because I see all of this distraction, all of this unconscious, behavior essentially. And I just have no interest in it. I feel like we could be spending our time better. And I mean, uh, like you can't just always be, working at something. So like I get the need to, unwind and relax in your day. And there's always got to be some time for that. But just the constant entertainment, right? Like people's minds are entertained like 24/7 these days. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, with the age of the internet, with the infinite amount of information we have in front of us, we have infinite ways in which we can distract ourselves. From sports to video games to, whatever it is. What I think it is partly is that it's easy. It's easy to just check out and just distract
Oh yeah,
yourself, just
yeah,
go into another realm of potential reality and then just forget about all of
right.
the, issues going on in this reality. And I think that's just a big part of it is just it's challenging to actually face the reality we're in and make good choices to bring about good change in that reality. It's easy to just go, well, I'm just gonna not pay attention and,
Right.
you know, go
Well,
into dreamland.
and what I see as well is, since I've been choosing to walk with God and to live according to His will, I'm like, well, it's not really easy, right? It's like you're taking
Well,
test
yeah,
after test. And sometimes it is easier to just be distracted and to do something else as a coping mechanism and maybe have some. I mean, it's not like I'm not having fun, but I'm having a lot of fun, by the way. But it's like living life according to God's will is quite a challenge. And I've noticed since and we've talked about this offline, but to to go back to, like, I've been listening to God for a while now. And then 2 years ago, he wanted me to give my attention to my service work, whatever that looks like. And I didn't listen because I was trying to control things and I just wanted to make sure that I would take care of things. And so for
mm,
a whole year, I did something else. He wanted me to give up my day job and I didn't. And then a year later, it was still very clear that he needed me to drop it. And so I did without having something new, right? Without having something to replace. That's what God does. Like, he doesn't say, like, just, I'll buy you new shoes before you lose the old ones. He's like, lose the old ones first.
Yep, it's a constant test of faith.
Yes.
Just always a test of faith.
Yeah. Um, oh, but
I,
another,
I, oh yeah, no, go for it. Yeah.
well, I was like, another thing that happened as well. It was in that same period when he wanted me to drop everything and wanted me to shut the door on things. Another thing that I also saw is when I was relaxing and I was just receiving and I was just having a conversation with Jesus. And suddenly I saw this big hand coming in, like it was coming here to pick me up and
Mm.
deliver me to another point. And I was like, all right, like,
Whoa.
yeah, what does that mean?
Completely out of your control,
Yeah,
outside of yourself. Yeah.
exactly. I was just picked up and placed somewhere else. So now, fast forward like 10, 11 months, like we're almost a year beyond that point, and there's so many things have happened. Um, Pushing through barriers and making sure um, that I destroy all of the attachments, all of the connections to my former life. And basically, what God's been saying to me is, I want to provide for you. I want to provide for you. And I've been doing it myself ever since I was young and I wanted to go to school and to college and I built my career and I made good money. I made good money, right? Driving, like I bought a brand new lease car at the age of 28 and I was driving a brand new BMW.
Nice.
It's nice, but it in the end, right, it didn't mean anything to me. It didn't bring me anything. Like it really, I mean, yeah, it was a nice car and I love it and I still love BMWs. I will never not love BMWs. But as I was going through that, building my career, being successful and also having, I mean, it was a nice job. I had a good time, but it wasn't for me. And
Right.
eventually I wasn't even happy.
Well, to me, that like really demonstrates that, yeah, it's a good demonstration that you're perfectly capable on your own, right? You're a capable individual, and you could build up whatever life that you wanted. But then, is it fulfilling? Are you fulfilling any kind of purpose? Are you, right? Because it's like, are you living for yourself essentially by building up your own life, or are you fulfilling a bigger purpose that, like you said, like God has, in plan for you?
Right.
So, it's like it's a kind of a funny thing. You could just all on your own, you could just build up this, life that people would dream for. And but if that's not actually for you, right? And if that's not what you're here for, then why waste your time with that? You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
it's not you can get the, all the material stuff in the world and it's not going to mean anything unless unless it's applied to your your mission or however you want to look at it, your what you're what you're here for, you know?
Right, right. Well, that was actually what I needed to search for because I mean, I was simply working in one of the systems of this society. I was working in medical device, so right, I'm working for the medical system. Yay.
Hmm.
Um,
Right.
but thinking I was, working for good cause, right? That's what we always think. We think we're working
Right.
for cause and we want to, give to the world and be a contribution to the world. Um, so it felt good, but of course that wasn't it. And then when that all it literally broke down. It kind of broke down. Like nothing wanted to work in that field.
Mm.
I had like one narcissistic manager after the other. Like I can't even count them anymore. I'm like, they're all narcissists.
Jeez. I
And
mean, I know there's an epidemic of it, but gosh, that's a lot.
it's like I just couldn't miss one. And
Right.
and then I started thinking about, okay, so what do I do? So I started finding something in the business of consciousness and working with other facilitators. And, or in the beginning, I just started taking on um, opportunities to work in their business and learn from them and see what I could grow into before I really started my own business in consciousness. And I
Mm.
have to say, finding your business in your your niche in consciousness, or like, what is it that I get to do? It's it was so hard in the beginning. Like I
Well, I mean, yeah, considering like the the whole business, the system of business that runs the world, like this physical reality we're in, it's so it's so anti like um consciousness, really. I mean, it's just like it's very limiting. It's very you have to go into that realm of business and operate within it, even though you're infinite potential in everything, right?
Mhm.
It's like you're boxing consciousness in by operating through business is kind of how I look at it. And so it's like, how do you even connect the two, right? Because that's the thing is it can't be about the money, right? You can't be out to make money because, that's not the
Not
right
the
intention
goal,
with it,
right?
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
yeah, it's you're out to, do better in the world, and then the money comes along with it, right? It's like because we have to operate in the system. But yeah, I've done the same thing. I've had the same struggle. Like, how do you monetize like your mission and your life's purpose? You know what I mean? It's such a weird fusion of the two. Like
Exactly. Yeah.
it feels very foreign to me. I feel it feels forced. Like we've just been doing this for so long that we have to operate this way. And then it's like we have to take our infiniteness and just like fine tune it to this niche thing. And then I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
It's
as you're
very
saying that,
strange.
I'm thinking about what Jesus did, because Jesus wasn't paid for what he did, but he wasn't poor, right? He knew a lot of people who had money, and that's the interesting part. So he never lacked anything.
So,
And then
well, so what I like to say about that is that to me, he was participating in an economy of giving, right? He was using the art of giving,
Mhm.
right, as a type of economy. Now, it doesn't mean he's like tallying things up, but basically, when you just live your life in service, right, and serve others, you're gonna get served. Like, it gets reciprocated, right? There is an economy that is severely lacking in today's world of giving, right?
Mhm.
I think we've been times in societies where we've operated more like that, where we're going off of just giving to each other and serving each other, and then you end up not needing because people have given to you back, what you need, and it's a beautiful thing. I think that was what he was trying to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's like
right.
he didn't have any interest in the in the money stuff.
No, and it's a good thing that you mention it, but the thing that I've seen as well, and the thing that God wanted to teach me is that I've been giving a lot as well, but I've been given to the wrong people.
Mm,
If you are giving and it ends up in a black hole
and
where
you're depleted.
yes, and I'm depleted and people are not giving it along and they're just using it, then yeah,
Yep.
it depletes me and other people will never be fulfilled because they will never be fulfilled. And that was the mistake that I was mistake, right? There are no
Yeah.
mistakes, but that was the mistake that I was making. And I started seeing that. So I was trying to regulate that as well as I was moving along.
Right, and that's how you develop the discernment, or start to develop the discernment of who's who you're like supposed to be giving to, basically.
Exactly,
Yeah, it's
exactly.
not just anyone and everyone,
Yeah,
right? Because
yeah. Well, there
yeah,
was some point where God literally told me, just stop giving, right? Just for now, just stop giving. You don't have the discernment. Just
right.
stop it. But I was like,
Take a break.
aren't I supposed to give and serve and be kind to people? It's like you just stop
Yeah,
altogether.
but you got to do it for yourself as well. So,
But basically what he told me, he showed me my own vessel. And then he's like, how can I fill you up if you keep giving it away?
hmm.
I was like, that makes sense.
Yeah,
And
how do you fill up a glass that's on its side?
Exactly. It's like it keeps pouring out, right? How
Yeah.
to fill up. And I was like, okay, well, yeah, that makes sense. But then I was like, but it's like people need it all the time, right? They're asking for it. And then
hmm
he's like, that might be true. And but he said, do you know that they could ask me to? And I could literally see myself, I could see myself as this vessel filled with gold water. That's what it looked like to me. And there are all these other vessels that are just wanting to take from me or wanting to take from other people or people like you, but they keep running away, right? They keep taking and running away, taking and running away. And he was like, they could come to me as well. Like all they have to do is look up and ask, and I would do the same in a heartbeat. Like they don't
mm
even have to pray for it. They just have to look up. And
mm
I would do that in an instant.
mm.
And I was like, oh, and I could just see all the other vessels just looking away, running away, avoiding and refusing God. And I'm like, why would I pour into them if they're choosing to refuse God?
Right. Exactly. That's their choice that they can
Yeah,
live with. They're,
right.
yeah. We are all the individuals, and that's the thing right there is, that's how you know um where your investment is needed, right? Because if you put it into someone who's just gonna spill it right out and it's right and it's not gonna go anywhere, then that's just an endless loop that
Yeah,
will just deplete you, like you said. But if you are like supporting essentially people who are already in this flow of passing it along basically, right? Then you can actually build and like create things beyond that, right? You can like amplify your effect with those people who are also trying to do that.
yeah,
And then it can just be amplified with each other versus being completely snuffed out by giving
right,
it to people who
right.
are just going to waste it basically.
Exactly. And
It's
there's no gratitude
yeah.
in it.
Exactly. Yeah. And the people who you're amplifying, who are also looking for the same, they're going to be very grateful
Yeah.
and they're going to reciprocate that. And it's like infinite growth and expansion or just snuffing it out is kind of how I look at it. It's like
Right.
it's very, very opposite ways to go
Right.
with it,
But
which is why that discernment is very important.
exactly. But I couldn't really see that because I was in such a it was so normal for me to give
Mm.
and to be willing to give to somebody else and just be ready like whenever somebody needed me. So God had to say like just stop it. Just don't.
Well, and with what you're telling me, and I mean, I could only assume that with you being in politics and such, that you got an extreme amount of that. Because I can only imagine in politics, I mean, we all know there's quite a few parasites and people who are just gonna suck you dry of all you have. So if you're willing to give anything in that situation, you're gonna get, you know, taken advantage of basically with your
Oh,
good nature.
that
And
has literally happened exactly as you were describing it. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So
money,
you've kind of gotten the
reputation
extreme of
involved.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, really? Are people really like this? Yes. Yes, Ruby. People are really like this. It's a toxic nature. Yeah.
When they are detached and refusing source,
Oh yeah.
right? Yeah, that's right. It's like we're capable of the greatest, creation and love and everything when we're connected to source and flowing with source. But when you disconnect from source and, either just ignore it or deny it or whatever, then you're just going to be bumbling around and wasting other people's energy
Yeah,
and doing toxic behavior, basically. So,
right. Well,
um,
it's the same way of just trying to bring somebody down, right? Somebody who's up there with God, you need to bring them down.
right,
That's the
like,
whole
like
point.
the like the crabs in the boiling water pulling each other down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but that's been a very interesting journey. And right now I'm just like I told you before, I dropped through this barrier of things that I needed to let go from my old life. Because that's the thing with consciousness, as you're shedding the layers, like the deeper you go in shedding those layers, the tougher it gets. But the easier it is to just go through it.
Right. Well, I think probably because it gets more natural and we're
Right.
getting more and more to our natural selves and our natural state the
Hmm.
more you go. So like coming at it from being a human and from the ego, it makes it more challenging the deeper you go. But at the same time, it's like just you're getting more and more to who you are, really, like who you actually are, not just this experience in this life, you know.
Tyler, could you maybe reflect on how you see that this could, create some change in the world? Because many times what I get back, like when I focus on consciousness, when I focus on walking with God, most people pretend like that's distraction. It's like, oh yeah, you're doing the spiritual stuff, and but we are here like being angry at the world, trying to change things. So, can you
Right.
reflect on that in what's happening in your country or in the world?
Yeah. To me, that's kind of funny, like the spiritual side and being a distraction, because to me, it's as above, so below,
Hmm.
and this three-dimensional reality is a essentially a reflection of the things going on above this dimension.
Hmm.
So it's like we're only seeing a tiny little piece of reality within what we're experiencing here. And to go, oh, anything outside of that is distraction. It's like, no, we're living in the illusion, guys. To be tightly attached to the illusion is silly, right? Like to like you're not gonna you need to go into the realm of cause and effect because this is not the realm of cause and effect. This is the realm of effect, basically. We're seeing the effects of all this stuff, the mirroring of everything else that's going on. So to figure out what's going on beyond this illusion um, can be very beneficial because then we can start to actually see um, reflections in reality of things actually changing. And so for like here in America, um, this is the place for distraction and entertainment, right? This it's other than death and weapons, entertainment is the biggest export of the United States. So I mean, the world loves the United States' entertainment. So I mean, and there's a level of you know, like necessity there, right? Again, entertainment has its place, but I think the more people decide to get conscious and not allow themselves to be distracted, the more we're actually going to be able to affect changes, which I've been seeing a lot more of actually in a lot of good ways because here we have this thing what and I've been getting involved looking at things locally. We have there's the big flock camera thing going on in this country because we have the Fourth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, which prevents unreasonable searches and seizures, but they're putting up surveillance cameras everywhere and even in like wilderness trails. And I mean, they're putting them everywhere, all over the country. And so there's big movements for people to, that people are actually taking action against it. And it's really good to see people who normally are just consumed with their distractions and just don't want to participate in what's going on normally. They're getting involved and they're not tolerating this stuff, and it's really good to see. And I think that's the thing is something's got to trigger you to want to be conscious, like become conscious again, right?
Yeah.
And then and then you and then you got to be driven to stay there basically, to be conscious, right? You not keep falling back into distraction. And I think as you know, the dark forces, whatever you might want to call them, that keep trying to make these big control grids for all of us. I think the more they try to lock it down and implement, it's just going to cause more people to be conscious. It's gonna get harder and harder and harder for people to ignore reality, which which
Yeah.
is a big push for the whole digital or virtual reality thing, right? Because if you could lock somebody into a virtual reality to where they can completely be um, detached from this reality, then you could get them to totally ignore all the crazy stuff going on. That's the only way to really get someone to truly ignore it, because eventually you're going to do something that's going to get, each individual's attention, and they're going to wake up and go, "Wait, what's happening here? What do I need? What's going on?" It's so, yeah, it's this weird thing. Like the more the darkness tries to snuff out the light, uh, the more holes the light's going to find in that and seep through. So,
Yeah,
uh,
well, I always say what the devil uses for evil, God will use for good.
exactly.
Yeah.
And it's always like tenfold, or
Oh yeah.
whatever on the
Yeah.
light, so however many fold, right? It's like it just com instantly overpowers the
Yeah.
darkness.
Yeah.
I mean, no
And
issue.
another thing that I've noticed is that the devil at some point always overplays his hand.
Yeah.
It will try to fool us, it will try to distract us, it will lie to us, but somehow when he feels confident, he overplays his hand, and then it's like,
Well,
wait a second.
he also indulges in greed, right? So like it's him getting greedy, just playing overplaying his hand, right? Like
Right.
that's
Yeah.
the greed right there. And
Yeah. 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 Absolutely. Wanting more and more and more, wanting to go
hmm
faster. Yeah.
hmm
But I have to say, it's like on a real serious note, like what's going on in the world right now. It's like people are seeing things and waking up to things or seeing that things are inherently not right. But I feel like there is a huge difference in whether somebody is has woken up or has really awakened. Like to wake up and to see things or see things, see that things are not right. It's something completely different than truly being awakened.
Right. I definitely think there's like levels to it. Um, and it's a process too.
Yeah.
I mean, I think anybody's initial awakening isn't gonna be like kind of the whole thing, you know what I mean?
Oh,
I
we
don't
couldn't
know if
handle that. No.
yeah, I don't think anybody could really I couldn't handle that. I mean, I know I couldn't. So, yeah, it's like that would just break your brain or something. I don't know what would happen. But yeah, so I feel like we have to be kind of eased into it a little bit, piece by piece, because it's very overwhelming. The
Mhm.
weight of existence and everything, and all possibility. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a heavy thing. So, and it's a big responsibility
Mhm.
uh to to be conscious. So, uh yeah, it's gonna be there's gonna be a lot of people re hesitant, I suppose, to take on that responsibility. Um, but it's a process, and so, like, for me even, there's been times through my process of, yeah, I mean, really, huge bouts of nihilism and all sorts of stuff, where it's like you can see so much darkness or whatever and realize it, that like you just want to shut down, you just want to give
Yeah.
up, you
Yeah.
just want to, you know,
Oh, I see a
crawl in a
lot of
hole and
people going
give
for
up.
coping mechanisms because it's
Yeah.
truly. I spoke about it with a friend of mine where he could see that somebody was, opening their eyes to all these stuff that they were seeing in the world, but he was also saying, I feel like, he's under influence of things as he's just living life. And I'm like, well, it kind of, when you start seeing things, you really have to have a strong stomach because when you start seeing the evil things of the world, it's not going to be good.
Hmm.
And it's a lot of people do want to, go for the bottle or want to go for some drugs just as a coping mechanism because it's just so much. It is.
Well, yeah, and it's understandable. And I mean, and it's so dark and depraved, all the stuff that's going on, that it really is like it's hard for people to admit some of the stuff is real because it's so repulsive and so anti, you know, human. It's
Yes.
right that you can't even imagine that you would have participated in such a thing unknowingly, right? So,
Exactly.
some
Yeah.
of the stuff that's like really, really deep and dark, that people would just go, oh, well, I'm not going there because
Yeah. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
means I would have participated in that
Exactly. Yeah.
unknowingly,
Yeah.
but you still
Yeah.
wouldn't want to admit that.
Yeah.
And, and that's really hard, like, because I've had to come to terms with the true evil that I have participated in unknowingly, right? Like against my will, right? Forced upon me through all this insane stuff and insane systems. But still, I have to come to terms with that. Like I've participated in, it's like, it's crazy with this, for an example, one crazy example that when you really start to look at how things work and you look at like this food system in this country, you have to realize that, well, you've probably eaten human flesh before if you've participated in certain aspects of this food system. So I've probably consumed human flesh. That's a terrible thing, not something I would ever do willingly, not
Right.
something I would, participate in knowingly,
Hmm.
right? But it's like this dark reality that just like, well, I just have to kind of come to terms with that. Yeah, I may have unknowingly participated in that, and now I have to make choices to make sure that I'm not participating in that.
Hmm.
It's like then it creates a lot of work and effort. You have to avoid a lot of different things if you want to, you know, stay stay aware and
Yeah.
and not participate in certain
Well, I think you just
things.
touched on I think the main reason why the world isn't changing yet, because the world only changes through human consciousness. And if humans don't want to be conscious, because it means that they're going to have to admit to participate to everything that's happening in this, because it is just true, we're all humans, right? We're all, that's why that's why they say the road to hell is paved with good intentions. We're just doing
Yep.
this because we feel like we have to. You just go along with society and the system and everything that we're doing in, in all of the industry, in the medical industry, in the food industry, like everything. And like
Yep.
I said, it's not, we wouldn't do that knowingly, like consciously. That's not what we want to do, but we're going to have to admit that we are still part of that society.
Hmm.
And
And the willingness to go there, it may kind of goes along with, you know, people's willingness to admit whether they were wrong in any situation. I mean, it, in this country, in this culture, that's very hard for people. That's like a societal thing. Like
that's because we
eh,
grow up with judgment.
right.
And whenever I do my sessions and my training, it always comes to the surface. People cannot let go of judgment. If you can let
Mm,
go of judgment, you can let go of
mm,
the judgment that you've made unconscious mistakes in the past. You don't have to forgive yourself for something that you didn't know.
right.
And maybe we could have known if we were conscious, and the moment that you do know, you can make other choices. And
Right.
that is where we have to let go of judgment. But that's the hardest thing to do because we basically always learn how to judge, not how to be out of judgment. And when I started learning, and I learned this when I was with Access Consciousness, where I started learning more about uh, the energetics and the quantum physics of life. And it was there when they said get rid of the judgment. And getting rid of the judgments was a daily practice. It's like praying. It's like if you don't want to judge anymore, you have to make it a daily practice of letting go of the judgments until you realize that you are not judging anymore.
Yep. I'll tell you what, I've been working at that for some years.
I know, right?
I've been consciously working at letting go of judgment completely. I'm
Right,
still human and I still catch myself making stupid, silly judgments that mean nothing.
right.
Um, uh, but most of the residual judgment is towards myself because we're all the
Oh, yeah.
hardest critics of ourselves and judge ourselves the most, right? So I've gotten to a point where there isn't much any meaningful judgment towards other people. The only judgments I do uphold against other people, not really against, but like towards other people, is judgments of morality. So like moral compass.
Mhm.
So if our
Right,
moral compass does not align, then we should not associate. I
right.
mean, that is the righteous judgment right there, and
It's
nothing
like a
else matters
standard.
to
I
me.
mean,
You know what I
it's
mean?
the judgment of
Like
the standard.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like we need to have um
You
common
know,
standing
I have to
immorality.
say, I would never call that judgment. I would probably just call that mathematics. It's like
Hmm.
if your standard is love and light, and you would, give that love and light in a scale, a number, you would have a scale from 1 to 10. Then if the standard is a 10, then an 8 is not good enough. And it's not
There you go.
judgment, it's math.
I like that. Okay, I'm gonna use that perspective from now on. I like that. That's way better. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Save the judgment for the yeah, the judgment that we don't need.
Exactly. And that,
Yeah.
but I really know, I mean, judgment is such an important topic, and I don't feel like it's being talked about enough. First of all, it helps us actually move through life because the way that judgment works is that it works as little locks. Like the judgments that we hold prevent us from moving. It prevents us from
Hmm.
letting go, right? It prevents us from stepping into a situation or a new situation because we judge it, right? Or like you were explaining, people are refusing to stepping into consciousness because that means they're going to have to judge themselves at themselves, so they
Hmm.
won't move forward. So it just literally blocks the movement, and we need to move forward. Like everyone's
Right.
always moving, like energy is always flowing, and
Hmm.
and the judgments are, yeah, they play a very big role in all of that.
Yeah. But I like that. I had just like a visual when you said that of like the judgment being like a boot on a car. Like when you get
Oh,
like a parking ticket and they put a boot on your car and so you can't move, right? Like that's your judgment right there. Like now you can't
exactly.
go anywhere.
Yeah,
Like,
it really works
but
that
it's so
way.
true.
Yeah,
It really does. Like I
yeah.
mean that really just kind of opened up a perspective for me. I like that. Thank you. That was
You're welcome. You're welcome. That's my gift to the world. It's free.
yeah.
Giving it to somebody who can, honor that and be
But
grateful
yeah,
for
so
it.
these judgments are like chains that just bind you to wherever you're at
Yes.
in life. And wow,
Yeah. Yeah.
goodness.
Like the thing is, like, imagine, like, if only people would be willing to let go of the judgment, how they could get into movement and how things could change.
Right.
And I feel like that is where we are stuck right now. I mean, of course, we are stuck in people who are angry, hateful, afraid, right? We all have all these things are really going on, but it's not changing because it's being judged.
Mm,
And not just only by ourselves or themselves, but it's also being judged from the outside. Like there's so much projection of judgment.
right. Right.
So it's being locked down from all angles.
Right. Well, and also I think another kind of issue that I've seen is that with people's need for entertainment and need to be distracted incessantly, um, especially here. But it's like people will turn like if they'll get a moment of clarity or like some conscious insight about any particular subject, whatever it may be. It's like if they get that little bit of insight and kind of wake up a little bit, then that whole thing will then get turned into basically a spy novel, right? And they'll turn the whole thing, the whole rabbit hole, whatever it is, they'll turn the whole thing into a source of entertainment.
I
And then
know.
they'll just sit back, jump down the rabbit hole, get entertained, and then move on to the next thing. And I feel like that has been such a big like sweep of consciousness. Like, oh nope, let's just keep you in distraction mode. Like even though you're looking at stuff that's going on, you're treating it like a source of entertainment,
Yes.
and which
And
just
there's
still
judgment
keeps you
on it.
locked.
Yeah.
Yes, and then judging it as well. And then so now you're just still right where you were, stuck. Nothing's changed. And now you sure are more aware of some stuff going on, but what are you doing with that? Like
Yeah.
what's being done with the information, right? And I think that's a huge thing is just like the kind of the apathy, the inaction based on these judgments and uh basically keeping it external and not um taking the responsibility or accountability for your own part of it in a way.
Mm.
It's like just keeping like, oh, well, it's all these other people's choices, all the crazy stuff that people do, it's like, well, what about your role in it and how you've supported it or participated, It's like, well,
Yeah.
should
Or
probably think about these things.
right. Or we just haven't seen it, right? Or we didn't see it coming, or our parents didn't see it coming. There's
Right.
there's
There's
all
lots of
that.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a fair point that you're mentioning right now. Is like you said, they see something and they start focusing on it, but it's also the judgment because it's the judgment of that it is bad.
Right.
And yes, I mean, I agree, some things are not what we want to choose as human beings, but the
But then
judgment,
still taking actions that support that. You know what I mean? Like people will judge it like, oh, well, that's bad, but I'm still paying them. I'm still giving them my money. Like
Mhm.
like for like something government does or something, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, I don't like that they bombed that elementary school and killed all those little girls, but I'm gonna keep giving them money by paying taxes. It's like, well, okay, so you're still supporting it. Like you say you claim it's bad, you claim you're against it, but then you give material support to it. That you see, right? So I'm gonna go with the material support of the action. The action is what you is your real is the real thing. Like you can say you're against it, but if your actions are supporting it, then you're still
well,
supporting
that's actually so
it.
interesting. I had somebody at the door a few weeks ago, and it was this guy who was asking for money for the Ukraine war.
Hmm,
Uh, I know a little bit about the Ukraine war. I know a few Ukrainian people. So I'm like, oh, you're at the wrong door. But, I was trying to let him go easily, politely.
right.
He started pushing, right? I was like, I wanted to let him off easily, but he started pressing me. And I was like, do you know anything about how things are happening in this war? How it started, what happened after, what's going on now, the situation. And he was basically asking, not necessarily for the war, but for the children in the war. And what we got to at the end, I was like, so how is what you're doing stopping the war? I mean, I'm not saying that, you know, I am going to stop the war, but I know consciousness can stop the war, God can stop the war. But going to people and making sure that you have you create these packages for children, and he's like, I guess you're right, that's not how it's gonna stop the war. I said, okay, so we're not actually not helping the war. No, in a sense, no, we're not. But I said, but now you're coming here, you're at, first of all, you say Ukrainian war, that's a trigger. the next thing is not just Ukrainian war, but it's the children in the war. That creates something in human beings. And now what you're asking is like maybe you're asking for $10. You know what's happens to the people who donate the $10? They feel like they've contributed something to help the war.
They did their part.
Yeah. And I
Yep.
said, so what's going to happen if you walk away? They're going to close the door and they're going to mind their own business because they feel like, hey, I contributed my part. I don't have to do anything about it anymore. And they'll never think about it again.
Yep. That's
That's what you're
exactly right.
reaching with what you're doing. Um, I mean, finally, I let him go easily, but I mean, I think my address is now written down in a report saying, don't ring her bell. But
No, that's so true. I mean, I and that really that I've seen that my whole life. That has been such a big thing where, and I think of like those old ads on the TV with whatever charity for like, oh, well, look at this starving child in Africa for 23 cents a day. You can, whatever. And it's like, but you're not addressing anything about how any of their lives came to be there. And like all of the extortion, everything that's happened to whichever country they're in, and it's like you know nothing about the history of how this came to be, right? But now you can give your 23 cents a day, and now you've done your part, and now you never have to think about these kids again. And now the corporations and the different countries can come in and still steal their resources and keep making them poor, and they can have their corrupt governments, and and you can never think about it again because you gave your 23 cents a day.
now,
And it's always been that way, right? And nowadays I get all the ads for the different organizations for the children in Gaza, and it's like, yes, we do need to feed these children in Gaza, but not that food's even allowed in. But it's like yes, but now people will donate to that, and then they never think about it again. Just like you're saying, it's like they feel relieved. They're like, oh yes, I was able to do something.
did my
I
part.
did it. Now I can move on with life. And but we
And
said,
be
well,
and be a good human being. That's
yes,
part of it
right.
as
And it's like,
well.
yeah, and now I feel
I've earned
like
my ticket to heaven.
exactly, right? But in the meantime, those children are still being bombed. The area is getting smaller and smaller, and then the extermination and genocide continues. And then all of a sudden, those types of children, that quote unquote race of people, like I don't believe in race, but that those people from that place will no longer exist. And then it's like, well, what did your little donation do? You fed them until they were killed?
Yeah.
What?
God.
Like, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's like,
You gave
wow,
them their last
you
meal.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
so
Well
generous of
done.
you.
Yeah.
So nice. Thank you. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean,
Don't feed me, please. Don't feed
yeah,
me.
yeah. I mean, yeah, but that's the thing, right? It's like you're not we're not actually correcting the situation,
We
right?
are
That's the
not.
thing.
And I mean, I felt kind of bad saying this to, this young fella, because I'm like, it's not his fault. But, he stood there and he kept, pushing me. And I was like, okay, then I'm just going to tell you. With respect, of course. It was very respectful. But I guess in general, that is the problem. If people feel like they can do things that, you know, they can earn their way of being a good human being. I mean, it doesn't give you um, a free pass to look away.
No. And it's funny because I always think about like kind of the religious influences that propagate that, right? Where it's
Oh
like,
yeah.
your good deeds, basically that's what it's about. Like
Mhm.
and how like even just these different, like Christian faiths or whatever, because especially here in the United States, there's like 1,000 different types of being Christian. Um, whatever, claiming different denominations or whatever. But different ones preach different things, and it's like some of them do preach about emphasizing the whole like, oh, as long as you're a good person, that or whatever that means to you, I guess, really. Like as long as you try to do some good deeds, then you're good to go,
Right,
It's
then you're a
like,
good human being. Well,
yeah.
did we talk about that last time? I don't know if we did, but it's the whole command of um, um, love your neighbor as you love yourself. And the free translation for a lot of people is, you know, do good for others. First of all, that's
Right.
not the translation. It's not like you should be good to others. It's like love your neighbor as you love yourself. So there's a command to love yourself the way you love your neighbor. It's self-love and it's loving others because you're being love, right? But I have been seeing, especially because I've been specializing in trauma therapy, that whole being good to others has become a trauma trigger. Because
Mm,
when you are good to others, you feel like you deserve your ticket to heaven. So that means giving. We were talking about giving earlier. You're not giving unconditionally. You're giving to get something in return, which is your ticket to heaven. So it's not
right.
unconditional.
Very conditional. Yeah,
It's
it's very
very
conditional.
conditional. It's you're
Yeah,
doing it for a reason. And even like a lot of people are not really religious anymore, but we still come from a culture of religion, or even if people are now not religious anymore, it's the previous generation that was still very much religious. So
exactly.
just inherited it. And the whole idea of being a good human being, being a good person, doing good deeds comes from that trauma response of I have to give because it gives me something in return.
Hmm.
And it's not freely giving. I mean, they pretend it's like, well, we have to be good for somebody else, but it's because you need, again, the judgment of being that good person, of not.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not doing it just because it's the right thing to do, right? Not giving to each other just because that makes you feel
Yeah,
good, right?
right,
And just for the sake of feeling good, like, oh, that felt nice to be able to give to somebody, like, and have no other attachment to it whatsoever. Like, I don't need anything in return. That's not any of the point of
right.
any of it, right?
Yeah.
You give to give because you can see how you can help, and that makes you feel good because you can have a positive influence on somebody's life.
Hmm.
There's
Yeah.
not, I mean, it shouldn't be anything more than that. You know what I mean? You shouldn't be looking for anything for yourself out of it. You know what I mean?
No.
But you can also simultaneously have a knowing that if you do give freely, I mean, with discernment, and discretion and, in the right avenues, then you're going to be taken care of. You're going to feel great, and, you shouldn't really have to worry if you do that because, um, it's it's the right way to go about things.
Yeah.
Not really expecting anything beyond that, but just go like, I think I'm going to be okay if I give, to the people I should give to
Yeah.
and just put it in God's hands like that,
Right.
right? Like,
It's a whole element of like what is giving. Like a lot of people
mm,
think about money or resources or stuff or whatever, but I mean, giving could be energy. That's what I love about the story of Jesus feeding the 5,000. Like if you go back to what it really is, and I don't know if you've looked into it, but like the acronym FISH, and then translating it into Greek, which then means that he's given like his own uh, energy to the people.
mm,
And that's the whole idea of how could you like multiply all of this, but he was just giving of himself in his energy.
right. It wasn't about literally making
It
a
was a
thousand
spirit.
fish out of one, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a
People take
spirit.
take these stories so physical and literal, that it's like, no, you got to look past that.
The old
Like,
translation. I mean, but that's the thing. Like, if it's being translated into the word that has a different meaning today, instead of like, and even Greek
yeah,
translation, right? But it's even closer to what it was. But if
right,
looking at the Greek translation, the ichthys sign, which then means like all giving of the Holy Spirit, then the whole story looks different.
right.
And that's the whole thing is like we're not really giving food, or we're not really giving money, or we're giving,
Spiritual food.
yeah, exactly, we're giving
Yeah,
energy, right? We're giving away energy, we're giving away um our yeah, parts of the Holy Spirit, like God's light.
exactly.
Yeah, because that again, that's a whole other dimension of gifting and receiving.
Mm.
I mean, it would, there's less need for physical stuff if we could only
Exactly.
see the energy.
Well, yeah, I mean that's the thing is what's lacking is the giving of time, attention, love, care. Like care is a huge one. Uh, from what I see, people just hardly have enough care for themselves, let alone to care about anyone else or anything else going on.
Yeah.
Um, so, it's like giving of these things, right? The intangible things, the so-called abstract stuff, the stuff that's not physical, but is of us, that I
Mhm.
think that's what's important because we've always been giving each other money and, toys for Christmas. And, it's just like, we do presents and we have it ingrained in holidays, and it's just like we pass around all these material goods all the time, and we have whole economies based on passing around material goods, but it's like that's just we have plenty of stuff at this point.
Yeah.
Like there's plenty
Yeah.
of stuff. We all have enough stuff. Like what we need is each other's care, time, attention, love.
Right.
Like that's what we should be giving to each other. Like give to ourselves first because people aren't doing that. They're not giving that to themselves, myself included, many times. But so give that to ourselves and then be able to then give it to others once you
Yeah.
can do it for yourself.
Wow. Well, let's close this podcast with that. That's a beautiful message, and
I
um,
would agree.
I hope people receive it.
Me too.
Yeah.
I think yeah, I think that's really important these days.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, thank you again, Tyler. This was lovely, insightful, and I would definitely say see you next time.
well, thank you, Ruby. I appreciate that. It's super great as always, and I would definitely love to come on again. So, next time it is.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening to Dare to Be Conscious. I hope today's conversation inspired you, challenged you, or helped you see something in a new way. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd be so grateful if you left a 5-star review and shared it with someone who might need to hear this message. For more inspiration, follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and don't forget to download my free guide and explore the Alignment Studio community. You'll find all the links in the show notes. Until next time, stay curious, stay open, and always dare to be conscious.